And welcome back to the Correspondents on Voice of America. I'm Mil Arcega in Washington. Well, people around the world have been watching the U.S. election process very closely. I can tell you that because many of the postings that I see, some of the messages we get on our website suggest most of you know who the U.S. candidates are. You're aware of the issues, and most of you are aware of the impact that a new U.S. president could have, not just here in the U.S., but also in your own countries. As some of you may know, the Voice of America provides news and information to a vast global audience in more than 40 different languages. We sent reporters from our various services to Cleveland and to Philadelphia to make sure that we can give you the latest up-to-the-minute news the moment it happens. The moment that we have this news, it's on our website. One of the language services that we sent over there was the Indonesian service. Spearheading that effort is our very own Patsy Widakuswara, a seasoned reporter and well-known face for VOA's Indonesian service. Patsy is getting ready to take the next bus back to Washington, but she joins me now via Skype from Philadelphia to talk about the Democratic Party convention. And right here in Washington, a VOA Turkish service correspondent and producer Alparslan Esmer is back from the Republican convention in Cleveland and joins me in the studio. Hey, thank you both for your coverage and taking the time to talk to us. I know it's a busy day wrapping things up, but Patsy, I want to start with you. Aside from the obvious connection that our current president, Barack Obama, spent part of his childhood in Jakarta, why are Indonesians even interested in an election happening 10,000 miles from home?
Well, Mil, it is our job as VOA language service journalists to make those audiences interested in the American political process. And we do that by highlighting context as well, providing context as well as providing relevant angles to audiences around the world. For Indonesia in 2016, obviously the big ratings booster is Donald Trump and his position against Muslims. So Indonesians are also, of course, interested in the fact that Hillary Clinton is the first female nominee. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, we're not that excited about it because we've already had a female president, Megawati Soekarno Putri, whom we elected in 2001. Yes, I mean, Indonesians are 15 years ahead of Americans in that regards.
Yeah, this is quite historic, actually, here if it does happen. But Patsy, one of the most powerful speeches, I thought, leading up to Hillary Clinton's acceptance speech was one delivered by a human trafficking survivor from Indonesia. Her name is Ima Matul. Tell me if I'm saying that correctly. I want you to tell me more about Ima and how her speech was received by your audience in Indonesia.
Yes. Obviously, Ima Matul was a very important story for the Indonesian service, and we highlighted the fact that she spoke only minutes before Bill Clinton, very prime time on the main stage. And we also highlighted the fact that she became the face to the problem of human trafficking and what Hillary Clinton is doing to combat it. And we also highlighted the fact that she's only the second diaspora of Indonesian diaspora to speak on a national convention stage after, of course, Maya Sutoro, President Obama's half-sister in 2008 and 2012. So Indonesians were very interested. And these kinds of stories, these kinds of angles, in particular, people are what VOA language service journalists are very good at honing in, highlighting for our particular audience.
Yeah, no, I thought it raised a very important issue in this country that we don't talk about very much.
And especially because for the Indonesian audience, Indonesia is a very important source, transit, and destination for human trafficking. So this is a big issue there, too.
Alpa, I want to get you in this conversation. I know you covered the Republican convention in Cleveland. Tell me, why are Turks interested in hearing about this election? Or Donald Trump, for that matter?
Well, to be honest, this is my third Republican convention, and Turks are very much interested in the U.S. politics, to be honest. But actually, what really distracted them was the military coup that took place a weekend before the convention. But still, they did not really lose their interest. First of all, Donald Trump being a sensational figure, his comments about Muslims really did not really please Turks very much. On the other hand, they know Trump very little, as a matter of fact, because
so there's a lot of curiosity about this new man in the political stage. But this new man on the political stage, Donald Trump, also brings with him a lot of baggage, a lot of divisions, in the country. Now, you spent some time observing some of the protesters outside of the convention. Tell me what you saw.
Well, there were protesters from every background, but one was I believe my most awkward moment when I saw protesters brandishing machine guns in a civilian area.
Because
Actually,
Ohio is an open carry state, right?
it is true, yes. They can simply show off their weapons.
Now, why were they there, and why were they carrying assault rifles with them?
In a way, they call themselves West Ohio Minutemen, but they're totally different than the original Minutemen of the 240 years ago. They appear to be more like vigilantes, telling me that they wanted to protect the people and the police from a certain race.
Black Lives Matter. That's why they were there, right?
They blamed the Black Lives Matter. They insinuated that they might just come up with their weapons and started shooting around. So they were there to protect the civilians and the police.
But how does that affect people who are just seeing this for the first time? I mean, there's a great deal of tension there and a lot of volatility. Anything could happen. Anything could trigger that. All it would take was probably a protest and some kind of a threat from the Black Lives Matter group, and we could see a full-on shootout.
It is true, but there was immense security there, and the Ohio police brought 4,000 extra troops, and there were also police forces supporting them from different states, and the security measures were so tight. Thanks God, nothing happened there.
Patsy, you attended both conventions. I'm curious, are you able to make a contrast between the two? Did you observe any differences, in tone, perhaps, or party unity?
Well, this is also my third convention, Mil,
Yeah.
but for this particular cycle, I did not attend the Republican National Convention. But drawing from past experiences, there is obviously a very different tone and a very different crowd between the two conventions. Usually the Republican convention is much more uniform, I suppose, in terms of their demographics, and the Democrat convention is a lot more colorful in terms of minorities, whether it's racial minorities, religious minorities, as well as groups like the LGBT. And, conventions are always a time to highlight the best of each party. And so I think in terms of energy, you can also feel from one convention to another the difference of levels of energy. And to me, the most exciting in terms of level of energy, the people's passion, the delegates as well as the volunteers, was 2008 for Barack Obama.
I'm all out of time, but Alp, I just want to ask you a quick question here. If the world could vote on this election, who do you think would win?
On this election, to be honest, it's quite hard to tell because we got 3 months to go, and anything can change. Any kind of incident could change.
Anything could happen. Well, thank you so much for your coverage, Alp, and thank you, Patsy. We're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, the U.S. National Park System, among the most beautiful, most magnificent in the world, turns 100 years old next month. We'll take a look at some of them. But before we do, a reminder, we want to hear from you. Share your thoughts, questions, and comments on our Facebook page. The address is VOA The Correspondents. We'll be right back.